All right, so I got a request, or some questions rather, regarding writing. Now, I hate these videos that people make that act like they have accomplished something they have not. I'm not a published author. I'm just a writer that likes writing, and I'm trying to become self-published. Whether if I ever get published or about a publishing company or not, I don't really care, to be honest with you. If it's good enough, it gets picked up along the way, great. If that happens to work out, great. But there's so many self-publication ways out there. I don't need somebody else to sort of like give me their papal blessing that I'm a writer. I'm a writer, and how I'll deliver it is open to discussion. But I'm a writer. I have my scripts turned into produced work, and I've written and had things put on the internet. But just to be clear, I'm not a published author. But again, that's just a delivery system. If you're a writer, you're a writer. So anyway, I have a Facebook page, and a young man by the name of Daniel, shout out to Daniel, asked me a question. He says, "What inspired you to become a writer? Did you first have to go to college or university to become a writer? And then what is needed to be a writer?" So I don't pay attention to a lot of messages that get sent to these pages, just because it's just time consuming, and just I don't know. I'd rather just focus on doing work stuff. But for whatever reason, this grabbed my attention, and I thought they were decent questions, and thought I would good questions, and I thought I would address them. So, what inspired you to become a writer? I don't really know. You either want to tell stories or you don't. You either have stories in your head you want to tell or you don't. George Lucas always stuck with me. Something he said. He said, "Hey, he was shocked when he realized, he became a young adult, that not everybody had imagination. He just assumed everybody had a vivid imagination." And I can greatly agree with that. And I think I have these little movies and ideas and whatnot in my head. I assumed everybody else thought that way creatively, but they don't. Some people don't have a creative bone in their body. Some people are more technical. You have engineers, et cetera, et cetera. So you have different people have gifts in different things. And one of the things that always kind of like one thing, when you have a talent show, for instance, in school, one of the things that always bugged me is it's like you do a talent show where somebody dances or they juggle or whatever. Like, just go back to George Lucas because it's an easy example and everybody recognizes him. George Lucas' talent was creating an entire world. Stan Lee's talent was creating an entire world. How do you show that off at a talent show? Well, it's an immense amount of talent. It takes a whole lot of creativity and talent to do that, but it's hard to show off. It's hard to write on an application. My talent is creating a universe. You know what I mean? It's easier to say I am a welder or whatever like that, or if you do a talent show like I can juggle bowling pins. You see what I mean? So it's like some way these ways of grading talent or whatnot are sort of asinine. But what inspired you to become a writer is either you want to write or you don't. Either you have stories in your head or you don't. And I don't know. There are ways to learn tools and tricks to the craft of it, but in essence, you either can tell stories or you can't. When I was a little kid, I played with toys and acted out things, and then I drew. I drew on the bulletin at church, when the church service listening, I would draw on it. At school, I would draw on the chalkboard, and I drew in class. And then when drawing wasn't enough, I went and found screenplay books. I learned how to write screenplays. And like Sid Field's book Screenplay was like really key to me when I read that really young. I was like, I want to say I was 12 or so, give or take, when I read Sid Field's Screenplay. And then in my adulthood, like I said, we learned how to make micro budget movies, and now I'm working on novels. And with a novel, there's certain parts of the trade I've had to like relearn as a writer because it's trade. But I'll get to that in a second. To me, all of these things, whether it be playing with the toys or drawing or writing a screenplay or writing a novel, to me are all the same thing. It's telling a story. Even social media posting and TikTok videos and whatever else, to me, it's all just telling a story. It's all the same thing to me. It's just different mediums and different crafts to tell it. It's still just storytelling. So you just have to like a lot of people, I think, confuse the craft of the medium versus actually like learning to be a writer. Not even a year ago, it wasn't even a year ago, I did lunch with a guy who was a published author. And he's a nice stuff guy. And I'm not going to name names because that would be so rude. Nice guy. He's a friend of a friend. I enjoyed talking to him. I enjoy the relationship. But he said something that pretty much offended me. Because I was telling the story right when I was a kid. I got Sid Field's book to learn how to write screenplays. And what I was referring to was I wanted to know the formatting. I didn't know the formatting of screenplay. Telling a story I knew how to do. I've always known how to tell a story. I needed help with the formatting. Well, the guy offended me, and that he was like, "Huh, you know they say that people have to read books and learn how to write. If you have to read a book on learning how to write, then you know how to write." That's not a nice thing to say to somebody. I was at 12, not knowing how the formatting of a screenplay. I needed to know the formatting of how to do it. Interior, the spacing, putting in the middle of the page the character name, and then under that putting like the dialogue, transitions, all this kind of stuff. The actual like formatting and and writing a story are not the same thing. And again, that's what people get hung up on. I can't tell you how to be a writer and be a storyteller, but I can point you towards the craft of constructing and formatting and things like that. They're two different things. It'd be pointless for me to ever tell you how to learn how to tell a story. As far as craft is concerned, I'm self-taught. I taught myself again how to write screenplays using a book. And then with novels, I've had to do the same thing. I don't know how to write a novel from a technical point of view, the craftsmanship. I've had to go learn it. My recommendation is to start learning these craft things. Watch videos about how to write a novel or a screenplay or whatever you want to write, short stories, whatever. There's tons of them out there. Listen to the craft thing. Don't compromise your vision, but learn the craft. If you're smart and you know how to tell a story, you can make your story fit into whatever formatting needs. I'm a good storyteller, so I can make a story work as a screenplay or as a novel or whatever you throw at me. I can make it adapt to whatever it needs to be, because I'm a storyteller first. So craftsman versus storyteller. Learn the craft. That goes into the other question was how to go to university to become a writer. I didn't go to college or anything. I was a horrible student. I barely graduated high school. In fact, my senior English teacher was the one that put me at risk of failing my senior year. And I think I passed only by virtue of the final exam. And she told me she gave me a lot of help on it. I don't know. She always had a hard on for me. My senior English teacher had a hard on for me for some reason, and didn't like what I put out. But I mean, she's a retired teacher, and I've got produced movies and working on self-published novels. So, I mean, I'll let you judge the end outcome of that. But no, I didn't care for her, nor do I still care for her. So there's a theme here. The guy that was a jerk about... It's okay. It's okay. You have the world's permission. You have all of karma's permission to not like how certain people treat you. As an artist, you have every right to flex that. A lot of people get too hung up on like all this, sunshine and rainbow stuff. No, man. If you're an artist, you gotta have a little bit of an edge to you. You gotta have a little bit of a grit and a bite to you. Otherwise, that's what an artist is. So you should have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. I mean, we only change when we're mad. Few people. Have you ever been happy and changed your life for the better? No. You are at a low point, or you get mad and change your life for the better. So, how are you going to write a book about conflict without using some of your own conflict? And all great works involve conflict. I mean, there's not too many movies that are made about peace and happiness where nothing happens. There's always conflict. There's always a bad guy and a good guy, or a problem or something like that, a tornado or something to overcome. There's always a force of good and a force of destruction or whatever, how you want to look at it. So I mean, these are not things to shy away from. You don't need permission, but you got it. Okay. So use these things. Learn the craftsmanship. Use these inks. Use this grit from life to fuel what's going on. Last question was, what is needed to be a writer? Well, everything I just learn the craft, a little bit of fire, have a story. So back to this whole craftsmanship and storytelling thing. So I can't tell you how to create a story from nothing. It comes from you from somewhere. It's an impossible question to answer. But there are tricks to get around certain things you get hung up on. So for instance, if you don't know where to begin, it's always good to begin in the middle. Well, what does that mean? Do I mean that literally you start in the middle of the book? No, I'm not necessarily meaning that drastic. Bono, I read something or heard something in an interview, like my favorite songwriters, and he said that whenever you're stuck, always begin in the middle of something already happening. And so he referred to the music, the song "One." They were stuck. They were really just in a tight spot. Things weren't working. And then he began that song with a question of a conversation or an argument or whatever else that's already taken place. Is it getting better, or do you feel the same? Well, there's no setup to it. It just begins there. Is it getting better, or do you feel the same? Will it make it easier on you now? You got someone to blame or whatever. So that begins in the middle of something. So a lot of great action movies will begin in the middle of an action scene. I'm showing my age here probably, but I always love the beginning of Lethal Weapon 2 because it literally begins in the middle of an action scene. It literally begins with Mel Gibson just screaming and hollering because they're chasing some guy. I always love that beginning. To me, it's a classic beginning for that reason. So it began in the middle of an action scene. Star Wars, the original 1977 Star Wars, begins in the middle of a chase between the rebel blockade runner and the Star Destroyer. So this is an example of a trick of the craftsmanship to help you as a writer. Learn the craft, learn the craft, learn the craft. I can't say it enough. And you are a writer. If you think you're a writer, then you're a writer. You just got to worry about a delivery system. That's it. I mean, it's like, hey, well, I want to be a cook. Well, I mean, if you go in your kitchen and cook, you're a cook. Do you really mean, hey, I want to be a restaurateur? Do I want to be a chef in a 5-star restaurant? Well, that's something else. That is a delivery system for your food. So if you want to write and you're writing on a pen and paper and no one ever sees it, you're a writer. You just got to be concerned with the delivery system. So you just got to find your way and put your energy toward that. I'm telling you, I don't care if I ever get published or not because I want to control my work. When you read what I wrote, I want to be faithful to what I wanted to be out. With an editor help aside, obviously, with grammar and things like that. But I mean, the vision is what I'm talking about. I don't want ever some guy in a suit to change my vision. Because honestly, I know better than he is. I'm smarter than he is when it comes to this. He might be a smarter business dude, but I'm a smarter one with my story. With my story, I'm smarter than he is. So I'm never going to relent. I'm just throwing a whole lot at you. So maybe some of this helps. And I'm kind of all over the map, I know, but I'm just trying to just freeform answer some of these questions. Worry about delivery system later. Put your book on a Facebook page, chapter by chapter by post or something. I mean, if it does, don't worry about getting paid first. Money will come. I know it's easy for me to say, but look, I ain't rich. I'm a paycheck guy like everybody else. When it comes to art, you do the art first. Money will take care of itself later. All right, and also think about your priorities and stuff for your passion. I don't bowl. I don't go hunting. I don't go get season tickets to baseball games. I create. My hobby and my jobs are the same. So I always do what I do. I don't have a reason to escape. I don't have a reason to like go divert and do something else. I mean, I'm a professional nerd, so I do internet stuff and gaming stuff and movie stuff and writing stuff, media and all that stuff. That's what I do. So I don't have to take a break from it. So I don't need to go on a week long hunting trip that took me 6 months to save up for. I don't need that escape. My hobby and my passions are all aligned. So if this is your true passion to write, you'll write. You'll get it out there. Somebody will like it, and it'll come back to you. Don't worry about publishing and money and all that stuff right now. Just write. I've never, since the time I went off to be a full-time creative, it always just take care of itself. It just has. I mean, I've had to work hard. I've had to manipulate things. I've had to stay on my game and hustle. But it always, at the end of the day, I've never missed a meal, as you can tell. So, just write, learn the craft, but just write, and worry about delivery system later. And I hope that gives you something. All right, I'll try and do some more of these. This was just some sort of me kind of just free-forming, and I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed some of that. Comment, question, subscribe, whatever. Give me feedback. If you want me to talk about something else or to elaborate, just let me know, and I'll try and do so. All right, guys. And with that, keep writing.